Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. New Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. Lord Balarama's appearance day Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. So today is the divine appearance day of Lord Balaram, and we have a verse on the board. This is from Narottam Das Thakur's song Ishta Dev Vigapti, which is a prayer to one's beloved Lord from Prarthana. And yeah, so this is verse number 3. Yeah. Yeah. You could whatever you like. Vrajendrana ye Shachi Suto Hoilo se Balaram Hoilo Nitai Dina Hina Yati Chilo Harinam Udarilo Tara Shakshi Jagai Madai Vrajendra Nandana ye Shachi Sutta Hoilo se Balaram Hoilo Nitai Dina Hina Yati Chilo Harinam Udarilo Tara Shakshi Jagai Madai Vrajendra Nandana ye Shachi Sutta Hoilo se Balaram Hoilo Nitai Dina Hina Yati Chilo Harinama Udarilo Tara Shakshi Jagai Madai. That's too big. Okay. So word by word. Vrajendra Nandana ye. Lord Krishna, the son of the king of Raj. Shachi Sutta. Lord Chaitanya, the son of Shachi. Hoilo, became. Say, he. Balaram, Lord Balaram. Hoilo, became. Nitai, Lord Nityananda. Dinahina, who were lowly and wretched. Yetta Chilo, all those souls who were. Hariname, by the holy name. Udarilo, were delivered. Tara Sakshi, the evidence of that. Jagai Madai, the two sinners named Jagai and Madai. So this is translation. Lord Krishna, the son of the king of Raj, became the son of Shachi, and Balaram became Nitai. The holy name delivered all those souls who were lowly and wretched. The two sinners, Jagai and Madai, are evidence of this. Om Jnanativedandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Maditamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Kaditavachalam Pangam Langai Tegirim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinitarinam Vancha Koptiribishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gauda Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today is the appearance day of Lord Balaram. So yeah, we're celebrating that today. Of course, I would much rather hear from the senior devotees here, but somehow or other, I'm not sure how this happened. Okay, all right, Bhajanarayan Swami. He pressured me. He asked me yesterday morning, and somehow my mind, anyways, it didn't work quick enough to say, okay, well, let's pass it to, Bhakti Sundar Swami or somebody else. But anyways, so yeah, this is this verse we just read. This is from actually one time Yamuna Devi, Srila Prabhupada's disciple, she asked Srila Prabhupada, "What's your favorite song?" And Srila Prabhupada said that this was his favorite song, this song, which is Hari Hari Vifale Janama Gunainu Ishta Devi Gapti. So this is number 3 of that song, the 3rd verse. So yeah, it's a very important song, and this particular verse that we just read, it's explaining how Narottam Das Thakur is explaining how Krishna, the son of the king of Vraj, became the son of Shachi. And Balaram became Nitai. So Krishna became Lord Chaitanya and Balaram became Lord Nityananda. And what did they do? It says, the holy name delivered all those souls who were lowly and wretched. The 2 sinners, Jaga and Madai, are evidence of this. So by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, who was Balaram became Nityananda, these 2 sinners, Jaga and Madai, were delivered. So we'll get into that a little later, but for now, I thought we could read from Krishna book, and this is chapter 67, one of Dvivida Prabhu's favorite chapters, I think, right? The deliverance of, how do you say? Dvivida? Yeah, Dvivida Gorilla. Not Dravida Gorilla, but Dvivida. You seem to read this often when we have Lord Balaram's appearance day. So anyways, we'll read that and discuss. And you could say part of the theme, they have, in the Christian world, they have this term, every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. So, like in the case of Jaga and Madai, they're 2 great sinners, right? They had a past. They were Jaga and Madai, but they became delivered from Nityananda. They became saints. So saints have a past, like Jaga and Madai, and sinners have a future. So that's, you could say, kind of the theme. But anyways, we'll discuss more of that in relation to this pastime of Dvivida Gorilla. Okay, so while Shukadev Goswami continued to speak on the transcendental pastimes and characteristics of Lord Krishna, King Parikshit, upon hearing him, became more and more enthusiastic and wanted to hear further. Shukadev Goswami next narrated the story of Dvivida, the gorilla who was killed by Lord Balaram. This gorilla was a great friend of Momasura, or Narakasura, who was killed by Krishna in connection with his kidnapping 16,000 princesses from all over the world. Dvivida was the minister of King Sugriva. His brother Mainda was also a very powerful gorilla king. When Dvivida gorilla heard the story of his friend Bhamasura's being killed by Lord Krishna, he planned to create mischief throughout the country in order to avenge the death of Bhamasura. His first business was to set fire in villages, towns, and industrial and mining places, as well as in the residential quarters of the mercantile men who were busy dairy farming and protecting cows. Sometimes he would uproot a big mountain and tear it to pieces. In this way he created great disturbances all over the country, especially in the province of Katwar. The city of Dwarka was situated in this Katwar province, and because Lord Krishna used to live in this city, Dvivida specifically made it his target of disturbance. So yeah, in relation to every saint has a past, every sinner has a future, which means that a person could be a demon and then they become a devotee, like in the case of Jaga and Madhus. They were demons who became devotees. But specifically, sometimes people think that once you become a devotee, you can't become a demon. Or sometimes that's not so emphasized, because it's emphasized, okay, a sinner can become a saint or a demon could become a devotee. But sometimes it happens a devotee becomes a demon. And in this particular case, Dvivida, he was a devotee, right? It says here he was the minister of King Sugriva. But due to bad association, he became a demon, such as Dvivida. And he was like really bad. And we'll see in this pastime what he was doing. So, okay, Dvivida was as powerful as 10,000 elephants. So that's very powerful. Just like they say for the Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotion that's growing. Says that if we offend Vaishnavas, then it's like the mad elephant offense, which a mad elephant comes in, it will just destroy, what to say, a small plant, but destroy so many things, very powerful. So what to speak of 10,000? 10,000 elephants. He was as powerful as 10,000 elephants, so extremely powerful, inconceivable. Sometimes he would go to the seashore, and with his powerful hands he would create so much disturbance in the sea that he would flood the neighboring cities and villages. Often he would go to the hermitages of great saintly persons and sages and cause a great disturbance by smashing their beautiful gardens and orchards. Not only did he create disturbances in that way, but sometimes he would pass urine and stool on their sacred sacrificial arenas. So he was a bully, actually. Bullies do stuff, they do, bully people, and they say, oh, what are you going to do about it? So that's what he was doing. He would thus pollute the whole atmosphere. He also kidnapped both men and women, taking them away from their residential places to the caves of the mountains. After putting them within the caves, he would close the entrances with large chunks of stone, like the bringi insect, which arrests and carries away many flies and other insects and puts them within the holes of the trees where it lives. Thus Dvivida regularly defied the law and order of the country. Not only that, but he would sometimes pollute the female members of many aristocratic families by forcibly raping them. While creating such great disturbances all over the country, sometimes he heard very sweet musical sounds from Raivataka mountain, and so he entered that mountainous region. There he saw Lord Balarama in the midst of many beautiful young girls, enjoying their company while singing and dancing. Dvivida became captivated by the beauty of Lord Balarama's body. It's interesting. He's a demon, but he became captivated by Balarama's beauty, whose every feature was very beautiful, decorated as he was with a garland of lotus flowers. Similarly, all the young girls present, dressed in garland of flowers, exhibited much beauty. Lord Balarama seemed fully intoxicated from drinking the Varuni beverage, and his eyes appeared to be rolling in a drunken state. Lord Balarama appeared just like the king of the elephants in the midst of many she-elephants. So Krishna and Balaram, and they're so attractive. It's as it's being stated here that even Dvivida gorilla is attracted to Balaram, his beauty. And it says here that he is enjoying with his many young girlfriends, beautiful girlfriends. So this is a thing that a lot of people in the world and a lot of people within religions, they think that in essence God doesn't have a life of his own. In other words, Krishna, Balaram, they have relationships. Balaram has his own, Lord Balarama has his own gopis, and here he has his own, beautiful girlfriends, and he's enjoying with them. And the more we're able to meditate on the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram, such pastimes as this, the more we're able to forget about, you could say, our own pastimes. In other words, people in this world, they're very much absorbed, like it's a huge thing in the world, right? Because the world's based on lust, practically speaking. This whole romantic endeavors, right? Everybody's really into it. What are all the movies about? What are all the songs about? What are all the books about? They're all about the same thing, practically speaking. And that's this, trying to enjoy romance, right? So souls coming to the Hare Krishna movement, coming to Krishna, they have that, generally speaking, they have that conditioning, that tendency towards to meditate like everybody else is on these different things, right? Based on lust. So how are the living entities supposed to get free from this? Because it's actually a problem. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that lust is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So they get free from it by meditating on the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram, like this. And then they don't feel an urge, they don't feel a attraction to what everybody else is into and what everybody else is doing. So here, Balaram's enjoying with his, says, right, young girls. So God, Krishna, Balaram, they have a life. They have relationships. So anyways, we'll continue. This gorilla by the name Dvivida could climb up into the trees and jump from one branch to another, as gorillas do. Sometimes he would jerk the branches, creating a particular type of sound, kila kila, so that Lord Balaram was greatly distracted from the pleasing atmosphere. Sometimes Dvivida would come before the women and exhibit different types of caricatures. By nature, young women are apt to enjoy everything with laughter and joking, and when the gorilla came before them, they did not take him seriously, but simply laughed at him. However, the gorilla was so rude that even in the presence of Balaram, he began to show the lower part of his body to the women. And sometimes he would come forward to show his teeth while moving his eyebrows. So I'm not going to try to, do that, but you get the idea, right? He disrespected the women, even in the presence of Balaram. Lord Balaram's name suggests not only that he is very powerful, but that he takes pleasure in exhibiting extraordinary strength. So he took a stone and threw it at Dvivida. So Lord Balaram took a stone and threw it at him. The gorilla, however, artfully avoided being struck by the stone. In order to insult Balaram, the gorilla took away the earthen pot in which the Varuni was kept. Dvivida, being thus intoxicated with his limited strength, began to tear off the valuable clothes worn by Balaram and the accompanying young girls. So the demons such as Dvivida, they think they have a chance fighting with Krishna and Balaram, and they attack. So here it says he was forcibly taking off the clothes of Lord Balaram and the young girls. That's what it's. He was so puffed up that he thought Balaram could not do anything to chastise him, because that was his mode. He was going around, and it says he was passing stool and urine, the sacrificial arenas of the priest, and he was taking, men and women and putting them in the caves, and he was just harassing everyone. And what could they do? He was as powerful as 10,000 elephants. So he was thinking that, what can Balaram do? That's what he was thinking. Yeah. And he continued to offend Balaram Ji and his companions. When Lord Balaram saw the disturbances created by the gorilla and heard that he had already performed many mischievous activities all over the country, he became very angry and decided to kill him. So Balaram said, okay, now I'm going to kill him. Immediately he took his club in his hands. The gorilla could understand that now Balaram was going to attack him. To counteract Balaram, he immediately uprooted a big oak tree, and with great force he came and struck Lord Balaram's head. Lord Balaram, however, immediately caught a hold of the big tree and remained undisturbed, just like a great mountain. To retaliate, he took his club, named Sunanda, and hit the gorilla with it, severely injuring his head. Currents of blood flowed from the gorilla's head with great force, but the stream of blood simply enhanced his beauty, like a stream of liquid manganese, coming out of a great mountain. The striking of Balaram's club did not even slightly disturb him. On the contrary, he immediately uprooted another big oak tree, and after clipping off all its leaves, interesting, so he just took a pause and clipped off all the leaves, again struck Balaram's head with it. But Balaram, with the help of his club, tore the tree to pieces. Since the gorilla was very angry, he took another tree in his hands and struck Lord Balaram's body. Again, Lord Balaram tore the tree to pieces, and the fighting continued. Each time the gorilla would bring out a big tree to strike Balaram, Lord Balaram would tear the tree to pieces by the striking of his club. And the gorilla Dvivida would clutch another tree from another direction, again attack Balaram in the same way. As a result of this continuous fighting, the forest became treeless. When no more trees were available, Dvivida took help from the hills and threw large pieces of stone like rainfall upon the body of Balaram. Lord Balaram, in a great sporting mood, began to smash those big pieces of stone into mere pebbles. Yeah. Origin of baseball. The gorilla, being bereft of all the trees and stone slabs, now stood before Balaram and waved his strong fist. Then, with great force, he began to beat Lord Balaram's chest with his fist. This time Lord Balaram became most angry. Since the gorilla was striking him with his hands, Lord Balaram would not strike him back with his own weapons, the club or the plow. Simply with his fist, he struck the collarbone of the gorilla. This blow proved fatal to Dvivida, who immediately vomited blood and fell unconscious upon the ground. When the gorilla fell, all the hills and forests appeared to totter. So Lord Balaram struck the collarbone of the gorilla. And then he vomited blood and fell unconscious. In other words, he died. After this horrible incident, all the Siddhas, great sages and saintly persons from the upper planetary system, showered flowers on the person of Lord Balaram and vibrated sounds glorifying his supremacy. All of them chanted, "All glories to Lord Balaram. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet. By killing this great demon Dvivida, you have initiated an auspicious era for the world." All such jubilant sounds of victory were heard from outer space. After killing the great demon Dvivida and being worshipped by showers of flowers and glorious sounds of victory, Balaram returned to his capital city, Dwarka. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 67th chapter of Krishna to the deliverance of Dvivida gorilla. So, as we were mentioning earlier, that Balaram Hoilo Nitai, that Lord Balaram became Nityananda. And in the form of, as Balaram, he would kill demons such as Dvivida and other demons. And in the form of Lord Nityananda, he wouldn't kill them, but he, by his kindness, by his mercy, he would deliver them by giving them the holy name of Krishna, and by his association transform them. And it says that Lord Nityananda Prabhu is an ocean of mercy. And as I've mentioned many times, and I'm going to mention again right now, one characteristic of an ocean is that we cannot measure the ocean. No one's measured the ocean so far. Can't do that. So similarly, we can't measure the mercy of Lord Nityananda. In other words, it's inconceivably great. While Haridas Thakur and Nityananda Prabhu went out to preach, they met these drunken brothers, Jaga and Madai, who were extremely sinful, extremely wretched. Now, of course, nowadays, when you describe some of the characteristics of Jaga and Madai, people are like, oh, they don't sound so bad. Yeah, my neighbors, kind of sounds like my dad, so. Yeah, sounds like, it's kind of not. But, I mean, they were, yeah, you could say, extreme criminals. And they were, you could say, yeah, what do you call the prototype? Yeah, archetype criminals. Burning houses and killing cows and so many different things. So they were extremely fallen. And what was interesting, because they actually came from good families. They came from Brahminical families. But they became fallen or sinful. So while Haridas Thakur and Lord Nityananda Prabhu went out to preach, they saw these brothers and they said, okay, well, if we deliver them, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glory will be understood, will be appreciated more. So let us try to deliver them. So they went to preach to them. And of course they didn't like that, Jaga and Madai, right? They say if you try to instruct a demonic person, they just get more angry. So they became angry and tried to attack them, and eventually they actually did attack Lord Nityananda Prabhu. They threw a earth and clay piece of a pot at Lord Nityananda's head, hit him, and the blood was flowing. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he heard about this, and he rushed to the scene, and he was about to kill them, right? All right, now it's time. Chakra, chakra. He was yelling out, chakra, chakra, right, to come, because no one could get away from the Sudarshan chakra. So he was yelling Sudarshan chakra. So the chakra came, and he was just about to release it on these two brothers. And then Lord Nityananda Prabhu said that, what was it, Jagai? Yeah, Jagai. I could note this. Jagai, okay. Because something, Jagai, Madai. Jagai stopped Madai because Madai, he wanted to continue to attack Lord Nityananda, but Jagai stopped him. So then Lord Nityananda Prabhu said that, okay, well, Jagai, he stopped Madai. So yeah, don't release the chakra on him. And then what happened was that Madai, his heart started to transform, and he surrendered also. He surrendered to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, surrendered to Lord Nityananda. In other words, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, these two brothers were saved. And not only were they just saved, because we have to note and we have to remember this like all the time, that we're not a salvation movement. We're not a salvationist movement or something. We're not just into being saved. Yes, I'm saved. Right? Like some people whatever, there's good Christians in the world, but within some of the groups, they have a tendency, yes, I'm saved, right? Which Prabhupada, he didn't like this idea, because a lot of the times what goes with this idea is that, oh, that means I could do whatever I want. And then Prabhupada, sometimes he would see the cross with Jesus Christ there, right, nailed to the cross. And Srila Prabhupada, he wouldn't like it. He didn't like it because he said, oh, they have there's this idea that, yes, our Guru, he died for our sins, and now we could do whatever we want. So that's one reason we're not into this idea, oh, I'm saved, because generally with this mentality comes, oh, I'm saved, that means I could kind of do whatever I want, or you could say maybe a little better is I could just kind of be a little comfortable or complacent, I don't have to strive anymore, I'm saved, right? I surrender to Krishna, I surrender to my Guru. So that's one reason we're not into it. But another reason we're not into it is that sometimes amongst those who feel themselves saved is that there's this mentality where it's, hey, well, I'm saved, and who cares about everybody else? At least I'm saved, right? But we are the Hare Krishna movement, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's a movement that is not just meant to save people. It does save people, but it's not that, okay, we're burning in the forest fire of material existence, and then we get the grace of the spiritual master and we feel some relief. But that's not all we're supposed to feel. We're not just supposed to feel relief. It's not like we're burning out in a Arizona heat, right? 125 degrees or whatever it is, something like that. Past 115, it's all kind of the same. But I guess if it gets really severe, maybe makes more of a difference in terms of person struggling. But okay, I'm out working in the heat, and then I go into an air conditioner room. Okay, I feel relief. But in other words, we're not just supposed to feel relief, but we're meant to actually experience or feel love for Krishna, love for God. And that's what Prabhupada said. That's the test of a religion. Means that a bona fide religion, authentic process, should bring us to the point of love for God. Now, there's two things about that. Is that one thing, it may not be a powerful enough process or an authentic process to develop love of God. That's one thing. Another thing is that the practitioner may not be engaging in it scientifically enough to actually bring them to the point of love of God. So, anyways, a side note. But Jaga and Madhe weren't simply saved, but they experienced the highest level of love for Krishna, Krishna Prem, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda. So that is, Balaram, Hoilo, Nitai. Balaram became Nityananda. So, and it's said that the spiritual master is a representative of Lord Nityananda. The spiritual master is merciful by nature, just as Nityananda Prabhu is merciful by nature. And means that the spiritual master engages in the same business as Nityananda, means to preach the glories of Lord Chaitanya, to bring people to Lord Chaitanya, and to help souls become reconnected to him, right? So, and that could mean Shiksha Guru, Diksha Guru, Vartma Pradarshaka Guru. And as Srila Prabhupada said, quoting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that we should all be gurus. We need a lot of gurus, actually. We need there's some, not as a, we need a lot of gurus. Diksha Gurus, Shiksha Gurus, Vartma Pradarshaka Gurus. There's, I don't know how many people in America, but 350 million people in America. And how many Diksha Gurus, I'm just picking Diksha Gurus right now, but how many Diksha Gurus are traveling throughout America, even to temples sometimes, sometimes the temples need, more Diksha Gurus coming through. What to speak of the whole populace. So we need a lot of Diksha Gurus, and also Shiksha Gurus, right? Instructing Gurus, and Vartma Pradarshaka Gurus. means those who are showing people the path. So, if we could become Diksha Gurus, good. If we could become Shiksha Gurus, also good. Or Vartma Guru, any Guru, we should become Guru. Yadi Dekitaka Krishna Badesh. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that wherever you go, whoever you are, wherever you go, you should become a Guru. Deliver this land. Tell people about Krishna. Instruct them. Right? Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Kora Krishna, Shika. Chant Krishna's name. Follow his instructions. What else? Bolo Krishna, Bhaja. Worship Krishna. So, and the spiritual master is said, as he is a representative of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, representative of Balarama, he's said to give us spiritual strength, which means that we have to follow him. It's not that, okay, well, great, my guru is very strong, and so that means I don't have to follow, and I'm just relying on his strength wholly and solely. Now, in some ways, we do rely wholly and solely on the strength of the spiritual master, but it requires the disciple to follow. Just as Srila Prabhupada was one time asked in India, he said, "What will happen to your movement when you leave?" And then Srila Prabhupada said, the future of my movement is very bright, provided my disciples follow my instructions. And he said, if they don't follow my instructions, what can I do? And then he gave the example of Mahatma Gandhi, because Mahatma Gandhi had a whole movement, right? Still very popular these days, on every rupee note, I think. So Mahatma Gandhi's movement, right? He wanted to agrarian society, bring things back to traditional ways of living and farming and so on. And after he left, his followers just changed everything, right? They industrialized everything, just changed. They didn't follow him. So that's the example Prabhupada gave. So our future, you could say, our having spiritual strength, it's possible. It's possible. It's practical. It's viable, right? Is that a word? Is that the right? It's needed, and the spiritual master will provide it to us, but we have to follow. We have to follow his instructions. And sometimes people say, well, I'm a little weak of heart. How am I supposed to follow? I theoretically understand. I know what I should do, but I have a weak heart, so what am I supposed to do? Therefore, sadhu sangha sarva shastra koi, to associate with devotees. That's how we get strength. Why? Because the devotees, aside from their just uplifting encouragement, but there's different ways devotees uplift us. And one of the ways is, what's that verse? Dvivida Prabhu, Tata duk sangam utsui ja. What is it? Tata duk sangam utsui ja varta. I'm mixing it with the Bhagavad Gita shloka, but this particular verse is saying that by the sadhus, by the saintly persons, buddhiman, by the sadhus, by the saintly persons' instructions, they cut all the hard wired or hard knot material attachments within the mind. They cut it. And someone would say, oh, well, is that really happening to me? Because sometimes we feel that the process may be slow. Am I really getting free? And I think we are. Because even just to chant Hare Krishna every day, even to, to give up certain things that we've given up, that means that there's been some cutting within our conscious of material attachments. It may not be a full, the full operation hasn't completely been completed, but it's in the process. Because somebody who's extremely materially attached, they can't chant Hare Krishna every day. They can't follow following the four regular principles. That's just kind of impossible, right? As what is called Lord Zetland said. Can't stop going to Starbucks. Yeah, that's true. So So their words will influence us to transform in a positive way. It means to get free of all of these silly desires and attachments. I was speaking with someone in when I was there in San Francisco after the center there, and they were telling me how they're reading Prabhupada's books, and they felt that Prabhupada was just like, they're getting mad, they said. So they read it and they get mad and they put it down, and because they felt that Prabhupada was doing an operation, a heart operation, on them. So and it was just kind of funny, but they were still coming to the temple. They're still chanting. So yeah, they picked it up again. So yeah, by the mercy of the spiritual master, we're able to have strength, and we should always pray to the spiritual master daily, all the time, as much as possible, and he will help. He will help us. And aside from us wanting help, because a immature person, or you could say a child, they always want help, right? Help me, help me, help me. Like when people are, those in the audience who've had children, which I think most haven't here, but there's some fathers in the audience. When a child, and just logically and just practically we could understand, when a child is young, they're always asking, give me this, give me that, right? I want this, I need this, I need this. And you could say it's natural, right? What else are they supposed to do? But then when the child gets older, they're supposed to give. Or you could say, supposed to or not supposed to, but by nature they feel, let me give to my parents, let me try to return. They've taken care of me, they've done so many things for me, let me try to do something nice for them. That's a healthy child will think that. So similarly, the more we're maturing, it's not that, okay, help me, Guru, help me, Guru, help me, but it's, okay, well, how can I assist you in your mission? What can I do to help you? Means to assist you. And therefore, we have this quote that my spiritual master quotes often in relation to, and he quoting Srila Prabhupada in a lecture in Los Angeles. He says that, Srila Prabhupada says that if we want to approach Radha and Krishna, which is the goal, then we have to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? And how do we get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? We have to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, Balarama Hoila Nitai, right? Get the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, who's Lord Balarama. And then how do we do that? We have to approach the Jagais and Madais. And as Bhajanarayan Swami would say, when we would do our Harinams out in downtown San Diego, every Harinam after Harinam, he would say Nitai, go to Premananda Hari Hari Bol, and then say, saving all the Jagais and Madais, and Bhajanarayan Swami would say, of which there is no shortage. So there's no shortage. Yeah, no unemployment in this missionary work. So somebody sometimes you get like kind of very stereotypical questions, like at the Krishna Lounge or the Sunday feast. They say, okay, well, what's your schedule? Which in some ways it's an honest question. People are curious, they don't know, or what's that on your forehead, or why you wear this color, and of course devotees, anybody who's practicing Krishna conscious and speaking with people, they've heard this question, hundreds, thousands of times, right? So it's nice when you get some more, you could say, questions that require more, questions of substance. So I had one person ask me a question one time, and since then, before then and after, I haven't had this question asked to me. But anyways, they asked about my name, Balarama Dasa. So they asked the question, is it that your guru gave you the name Balaram because I was explaining how it means spiritual strength, spiritual happiness, right? Breaking it down in that way. Bala, strength, and Rama, happiness. So they asked, is it that your guru named you Balaram because because you have that spiritual strength and happiness, or is it because you need it? So I thought that was a pretty good question, amusing anyways. So I told them, I said, well, it's because I need it. Obviously, that's. So we all need that strength, and the way to get it is by surrendering to the spiritual master, who's a representative of Nityananda Prabhu, and helping or assisting the spiritual master in the mission of Nityananda Prabhu, and we will get that strength. So, all right. So this evening we will hear a talk by His Holiness Bhakti Sundar Swami, also Suresh Prabhu will get initiated. We're very happy. We've been waiting a long time for Suresh to get initiated. Attending your class for 30 years. Wow. Yeah. And Kanai Balai Prabhu will also take second initiation tonight. So glorious occasion. So does anybody have any questions? Any of the... Yes, Bhajanarayan Swami. Or comments?
What I was going to say, you were talking about the person who had every time they read Prabhupada's books.
Yeah.
The president of our temple in Istanbul, he said, he was cruising along in life. He thought he was a good Muslim. And I'm not picky, don't give him my address, don't come get me, ISIS. But he thought he was a good Muslim. But he said he started reading Prabhupada's books, because he was smoking. He was, I don't think he drank, but he, whatever. He said every time he opened Prabhupada's books, he felt like he was getting punched in the nose. Like you have this pop-up books, you open it, pop, And he said practically every pop, he was getting it. But, because it made sense and it was true, he'd recover and he'd open it. Prabhupada hit him a couple more times, but it made him a devotee. So it's not an uncommon experience that, and as you say, when we think, well, everything's great, I'm fine, I'm saved, you're saved, no.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing about preaching and distributing Srila Prabhupada's books is that, as has been said, they're like time bombs. They will go off. It means it's just a matter of time. The right person needs to get it, right? There's stories about how books have been sitting there for 20 years, and then the grandson reads it. It's in the grandmother's house, and he reads it and becomes a devotee. But the books will act, and they act on, specifically, you could say, fortunate or pious people. People like this devotee. He was reading the book, and he felt like he was getting punched in the face, but he kept on picking it up because this makes sense, And for people who, are just... not so sincere or not so pious, and they'll just, put it down and, I don't want anything to do with that. But, so that's why we're trying to, we say like the ripe fruits, right? We're trying to get the ripe fruits. So they are out there. They're just wandering around all over San Diego, and yes, so we should try to find them. Yes, Mr. Bob.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned...
yes, 8:30, we're opening the altar, so... Yes, you could.
You mentioned the Christian's interpretation of salvation, and you mentioned the disciple-guru relationship. In a sense, isn't, when you give your heart to Jesus and or you accept a guru as his disciple and he accepts you as his disciple, essentially they're as a disciple, the guru's assuming your karma.
Yes, that's true.
And so, it's not like, that's not a free, even if the guru is empowered, you can't just keep...
It's there in the story of Mary Magdalene, who was a prostitute. So to test him out, she asked Jesus, "Oh, who's my husband?" Jesus responded, "Oh, you have many husbands," which meant she was a prostitute. And there's a discussion back and forth, and she actually changes and surrenders. And she says, "I've got all this, all these sinful deeds. What do I do?" He said, "You are forgiven, but go forth and sin no more." That's the important point. And they think, no, Jesus, shed his blood, died on the cross for me, and I can go on sinning. That's the point Balarama's making.
Yeah, it's interesting because they feel that it's like part of their understanding that they just can't stop. And a lot of the times they may not even understand what is sin and what is not sin, just like the eating of meat. You know, when Prabhupada was talking to Cardinal Danilu, he just wasn't understanding. And, you know, he was one of the leaders, you know, in that faith. So, and other... Yeah, I heard.
He died in a brawl, but they dragged him outside, so they found him dead on the sidewalk. You know?
Yeah.
They did that with his little dignity, but at least he didn't die in the brawl.
Yeah.
And she said he was preaching to me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, there was an idea that he goes to the needy people to give charity and this and that. So it's definitely what do you call dicey. But
So-
yeah, they don't understand, you know. So that's
What caused the heart attack?
Yeah, Maharaj hit the nail on the head. That my question was, once we make that relationship, that commitment, our duty is not to sin
stop.
anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay,
That's
thank
true.
you. Thank you, Maharaj.
That's why we have to be careful. So. All right. Lord Balarama ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Balaram
Hare-
Das ki jai.